Thank you everyone for joining. So today we have Jason with us. Jason is the co-founder and chief creative and technical officer and the brains behind the entire accelerated AI-driven pipeline at Team Tiger Games. He's a seasoned designer behind the hits like Big Fish Casino, Jackpot City Slots, and Lifeline. So just kept it short, and I'd rather give more spotlight to Jason for tonight or today.
Yeah, depending on where you're at. Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm Jason. Hello. So yes, I am part of Team Tiger. I think all of us are actually on the call. So hello, guys. So let me just like dive in a little bit of who we are. So first off, who I am. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the weird mix of technical and creative officer, which I know you don't hear very often, but that's me. I've got over 15 years in the mobile games industry. I've worked on, I don't know, countless games. I'm crazy about games in all aspects of development. So I've been in so many different roles, but I'm kind of become like an indie developer in an indie studio myself of game design, UI, UX design, art, engineering, all sorts of leadership, all sorts of stuff. And we're a very small team, as you'll see in a second. So we're a team of four seasoned developers. It's me, Matt, our CEO, who's here, and two really talented seasoned designers who we work with. But obviously, like that's not a huge group, and we have a lot of stuff we need to do as a small indie studio. So our goal is to make great games fast, and the only way to do that is to embrace cutting edge technology in really creative and interesting ways. So that's what I'm going to get into with this. But yeah, we're fully independent and we're working on some really exciting projects. So first, before I get into like some process stuff, I just want to get into some like philosophy for a second of how we approach this and how I specifically think of AI and kind of its place in our process. So AI is God. AI solves everything. We should all see it like the Triforce in Zelda. It's the answer to everything. Uh, Not really. So I live in downtown San Francisco, and this is definitely how San Francisco lives with AI. And it's kind of nuts. Like I sent an image to Matt a while ago where there was billboards of replace your CEO with AI and all sorts of things. And I sent it to Matt. I'm sorry, Matt, you're out of the job. But it's kind of honestly a bit of an unhealthy relationship. And it's something that I think having really good thought process of how to handle AI and how to approach it is a very big deal. And so the way we look at it is, of course, AI is a tool. So instead of seeing it, I'm going to use my Zelda reference again. Instead of seeing it as the Triforce, you should see it as a really helpful new tool you've created or you found a new item, right? This again, like kind of seems silly and kind of basic, but with a lot of leadership, especially in games and stuff too, we see this distinction not as clear because they fire the whole art team. AI is going to replace the whole art team, the whole thing, right? But AI is a tool. AI is not an expert, right? And so I think this is actually a really important distinction to have because the key here is AI tools plus expertise equals accelerated awesome. Because really that's where the magic happens, right? Because AI tools are so advanced and they can really kind of almost mask a lack of expertise, but they really need to enhance it, right? So that's how we think of AI and how we use it. But essentially, in terms of what we use it for, so these are just a few of the things that we use it for. So image generation, I'll get into some of this specifically, but marketing assets, character design, in-game assets and content. We have a custom localization engine because our game right now is launched globally. And so we have on the back end, we use a lot of AI to help localize the game with our engine. We use it for game and marketing copy. And then for me on the development side, of course, I use all sorts of models for code assist and review. My thing, and maybe if you guys have done this too, is like learning to always use that in small bite-sized chunks because you always have to verify everything it does and never commit something you don't understand. Because as you're kind of building these blocks, especially with AI generated code, that can become quite a problem and later. So I think it's kind of the difference between vibe coding and actually understanding what's happening. So from a high level, that's how we use AI. But for this talk, I'm going to specifically focus on this. So the image generation stuff, because I think it's super interesting, fascinating how we're using it, and it's absolutely accelerating us as a studio. So our current project is called Match and Seek. So the kind of idea behind this game is you match pairs of fun 3D objects to win levels. And as you beat those levels, you color in these cute 3D scenes that are full of surprises as you color them in. So really, it's like a mix of hidden object and match two gameplay. And again, with just the four of us, we started this game in particular in April, and it's globally soft launch now. So I'll add links in the Slack, but you can download it on an app store near you. And this is our kind of early soft launch release. But we're super proud that we were able to get this as fast as we did, which, is and to have it as polished as we do. And speaking of which, everything you see on screen is actually already completely made using various AI tools. And my philosophy with this always too is that anything that we make should not be but just discernible as, oh, that's AI generated, right? It's more of what you do with it, how you put it together, and what your kind of core design goals were and how you put it together. So speaking of which, I'll kind of go into a little bit to show you more of the game. So we've got on the left, like this is our splash screen and a little bit of the kind of whimsy and personality of the game. The middle is an App Store screenshot, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And then I'm just going to show you really quickly like one of the ads we're running for the game, so you can see the gameplay. So we lean a lot into like the physicality of the objects. The really cute, fun things happen as you color in the levels, like you can see there. But the gameplay is like very straightforward, very simple, very cute, kind of casual puzzle, leaning to that. So if you kind of look at some of the assets we're using, so 3D objects are modeled either by artists, we have partners, or they're store-bought or made by us. And the thing about especially in-game 3D models is for mobile especially, they have to be optimized for mobile, right? So they can't be crazy poly count. They have to be made a certain way to look good on screen. And they look great in the game. But one of the problems that you have is like on the right, you can see me cutting them out. When they're blown up, they're not really made for that, right? So that starts becoming a challenge. If you need really polished, especially 2D assets that you want to use either in game or marketing, well, what do you do? So this is one of the things that I've been doing, which is training models, using them very specifically. So for example, let's take this teacup, right? And this is exactly what I would feed into the model. It's like, yeah, you can get a sense, but it doesn't look great. But feeding it in and getting something back is like a really high polished, like illustrated looking asset that still is the object itself, but brings out all the details, the highlights, the shadows in the specific kind of style that I'm looking for, right? Another example would be taking that apple and then I get this, right? So there's like clear difference of like polish and quality you can get with that after kind of working really hard with the model. Now, the fun thing about AI is it's also unpredictable. So this is something I was doing yesterday where even though I was training the model and we were going back and forth, it gave me this. And I'm like, well, that's cute, but not really what I'm looking for. So of course there's, especially with the new ChatGPT 5, oh man, that's been a fun one. But essentially feeding in something like this on the left and getting this back. And this, a lot of back and forth, a lot of that, but it's really great because you can kind of see like it's taking even the dimension, the perspective of the objects, and then gives me a really good high quality thing back. Now, of course, though, stepping back, none of this replaces solid art direction, right? Like you have to really understand the craft, understand what makes these good, what sort of things you need to do to create consistency. You have to continually train the models on your lighting, your style, other needs. And then after you get this back, there's tons of editing and polish you need to do if you want to maintain that quality and consistency, right? And then even after all that, the assets are only as good as what you use them for, right? So that's where the power lies in. So let me show you this example specifically, like some of the things that we use this for. So here's more marketing. So you can start seeing where these things are coming together, right? So we have some marketing creatives for the game of what the gameplay is. These are getting great click-through rates, but everything you see here is an AI generated element that sometimes I'll feed even just video gameplay into the models, and it will just kind of spit stuff back to me, which is really cool. But essentially, it's all just kind of taking those elements and then putting them together in the way that you want. Here's a few more examples. So yeah, all AI generated, put together. The ones on the right are a little bit more in-game because these are actually App Store screenshots. And as we know, like the stores want you to be like a little bit more like, true to the actual game experience. So this is a little bit of like a hybrid of actual game screenshots with AI on top. Speaking of which, you can kind of see too, there are some adorable characters with these. I wonder where those came from. So on our team, we're fortunate enough to have a lot of awesome pets. Each one of us has a lot of animals. One of my cats was just, yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but she was just on the call with me. But looking at these, we wanted to have some inspiration for characters and whatnot. So again, after training models and getting some consistent style, we're able to turn the cat into this, and the lizard into that, and the bird into that, which is super fun, right? So kind of again, like once you establish the universe, the style, the lighting, the texture quality, being able to like, yeah, now I'm dictating what my characters look like in the game. And literally using these exact photos gave me this back, which is amazing. And then when you start kind of putting more of that together, you can start saying, okay, cool. Now we've got characters with those objects, with the logo. We can put them in different poses, just try all these different ad creatives and whatnot. And then like trying to get these things back into the game. So if you take like this bird, for example, one thing that I like to do is I cut out the pieces, do some painting, and then now he's an animated character in the game. Now he's like our tutorial character where his beak is moving, his little bow tie is bouncing. And so now again, this is kind of like building from that. And now we've established this character. Now we can use him in all different ways in the game. And then taking this another step further, this is a feature that we're working on right now, which is a sticker book. So again, I turned the bird character into a sticker. And so now this is a feature in the game that as you play levels, you earn these little sticker fragments, and then you use those to fill in your sticker book. And again, like, having these assets to be able to be generated from the model, now we have the characters in these different scenes, and then specifying the type of style we want, we can cut them out and then start using them as part of the feature, right? So you can kind of see what this is after we build the kind of bones of this. Now we have an engine where I have the image, I can cut them out as the player earns these stickers, they start filling in their book and they start kind of creating these little scenes. Again, every pixel AI generated, but with like clear direction, clear understanding of how you use it, what you're using it for, and get the most out of it. So yeah, so that's essentially like in a nutshell. I think that was maybe exactly 10 minutes too. In a nutshell of like how we use it. Obviously, like I said before, we use it in all sorts of ways, but I felt like this was a good kind of dissection of just kind of our approach. So I can leave it for questions now.
I think you have one question in the chat.
Oh yeah, actually I can't see the chat. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see. Mind blown. Cool. Thank you. Is the secret sauce here custom train models prompts? I would say actually the secret sauce here is I'm not using so far anything super custom in terms of like AI models, right? Like I'm really the secret sauce is the editing, some of the prompts, but also it's like the expertise, like starting with what do you want? How do you kind of integrate that into the game that you want? Like having a vision, right? And then kind of working backwards from there. To me, like that's the super most important thing, right? Because you can get the models, even just open ChatGPT 5, right? Like you have to kind of go back and forth with to understand, hey, this is the lighting that I want. This is the kind of texture quality. These are like giving it references of other characters from other games to kind of narrow that down. And then, for example, like once I get to this point, this is now like my hero character, right? And then I can use this to say, because this is exactly what I did. I actually started with the bird and I showed it the other pets and I said, yes, stick with this style with the purple bow tie, right? That's like a little signature thing. And now make the lizard, now make the cat, right? And a lot of back and forth. And then after that is, the heavy editing and kind of adjustments and then getting it into like the context that you need. Um, so hopefully that answered some of your question.
Yeah. So thank you so much for diving deep into that, Jason. We actually have some questions flowing in the chat, so I think we can take them one by one, and then maybe we can open the floor for everyone else to. So, Nitsan actually asked, "How do you actually train your model?" So I actually had the same question in my mind as well.
Is that how to train specifically?
So basically, Nitsan, if you
Yeah.
wanna.
So my question is, you kind of answered that, but I guess
Yeah,
my question is, what model do you use and how do you actually train it? And I guess you kind of answered that by giving it. I didn't know it could do that because I saw somebody
yeah,
took the Moon Active Coin Master Pig, which has a lot of images that they can, train on, and
yeah,
to actually use that and train the model on the personal computer to actually create new marketing material for,
yeah.
using that pig. But you're not doing that, right? You just throwing it into ChatGPT, whatever, and telling it, this is my pet, this is the image I want, combine it, and then filtering those results to try and get it to where you want it to be. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's why too, like I said, sometimes the unpredictable, like it'll come back with like something that was like, okay, no, I don't know where where you got that from. That's not what I want. You have to kind of like divert it back to what you want. But like I said, it's like giving those references and having, images from other games, those sort of thing. It's a lot of back and forth, right? Um, so
And one question, you can then change, once you have the final image, you can change the pose just by asking it or giving it a reference image for
yes.
the pose.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's gotten surprisingly good at that. Like even some of these I'll show you, like this bird, right? Is these are, different poses really, right? Because it's the same character model, but now I'm like, hey, put a magnifying glass on him. And then I add the strawberry. And then I have, hey, let's use the magnifying glass slightly angled so he's looking down at something, right? And then I can add another thing on top of it. So yeah, and then like I said, in Photoshop, I might have to go in and change the color, the wings, or change the eyes or whatnot. But really, I mean, like getting that base, right? I know there's a question coming up soon of like, as an artist and as a person who's like worked with artists, like that is actually very hard, even as a human being, to like take a character in 2D and like kind of just do a slightly different angle and make sure that it feels like the same character. Like that's actually very hard. And the fact that these models have gotten so good at that and that I can kind of just get it any angle I want is amazing. And then what you do with it is obviously kind of up to you.
Just wanted to add my perspective on train the model. So far, the best approach is like using LoRa. I guess you have heard about what LoRa is.
Yeah.
And there are a few open source frameworks. You can customize your own model. However, the thing is, LoRa is not really compatible with the state-of-the-art model, such as Flux Context, which is not fully LoRa compatible yet, even though there are a few projects that claim it is working, but in reality, it is not. So oftentimes, you will be stuck with Stable Diffusion XL, which is a really old model, considering the speed of generative AI, speed. So instead of using LoRa, just as Jason mentioned, working with some reference prompt engineering in Midjourney or Nano Banana, that will give you much better result instead of training your model. That's my recent take.
Yeah, and it's so funny too. I meant to say this in the beginning of the call. It's like I totally expect, let's say, a future person 5 years from now sees this call. Hello, future person. All of this is going to be completely different, right? Like we all know that, right? But I still, that's why I wanted to start with the philosophy part of it too. Is like to me that stays consistent, right? It's like if we treat these as tools that are forever evolving, like that's kind of a healthy relationship too, because expecting them to kind of replace the things that like the creativity and the actual like intention, like we shouldn't kind of treat it that way, right? But the models like and the things we can do with them, I mean, I always relate this to like Photoshop, right? When I started with Photoshop, it didn't even have layers, right? So it's like it's like it's just these tools evolve over time, and obviously these are just moving really fast. So um yeah, and
So,
I know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
Well, I saw Matt. Thank you for answering your question in chat. So to cost saving percentages, yeah. So, the whole art team is on this call. So everything we've created is ourselves. And yes, like in terms of cost savings is amazing. Now, of course, too, like we're a very early startup. We're in our fundraising phase, the whole thing. And like our intention is to, of course, hire artists and hire people to do these things because like I said, expertise plus these tools is really where the magic is. So our intention is also just like not to replace artists, like it's empowering creators to just create things even more. In our previous game too, we had some concept artists that were super talented, but we encourage them, yeah, use these tools to help you kind of accelerate your design. Don't replace yourself, like otherwise you're gonna kind of make yourself go extinct. But you have to keep up with these things, otherwise you're always gonna fall behind. So.
So, a tangent to this question. So, basically, Oren asked about the cost, but obviously, any artist who will be using this even as a tool would be saving some time, right? Were you guys able to calculate how much effective, like time savings were
Oh
you getting?
God. Honestly, oh man, that's such a good question. Because like even some of these creatives we're looking at, I don't even know. It's like kind of months. Oh,
Yeah,
Matt,
it's tough because you're like now thinking about style development, like look development,
yeah,
and like that process taking the cost completely out of it and just focusing on time is like a timely process. And I think each person you add in, you're adding like another subjective opinion. So
yeah,
like this to me, like with Jason was just kind of like running with it. Like the time savings was incredible. So it's like just taking cost away as a factor. It's like you can just go really fast with like a small group of people just running through this process. So to me, I'm like, just the amount of time you save is incredible.
yeah. And that's kind of, we're a small team, and those are some of the benefits of that, is like the decisions are just like a few of us, but but yeah, like I said, even just like a talented artist being able to kind of take a pose and just make it three-quarter. This can be a week sometimes, right? Because there's so much back and forth and there's so much setting up with that. And this might take me 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
like that's another example too. So like you create your style and you like, I have this defined in a style guide, and then now I'm working with like an outsourced team to come up with ad creatives, and then like having to train them on the style and like get the style accurate. It's just like the kind of removing variables here and just being like, we're gonna just use this process to do all of these things. It's just the amount of speed has been crazy. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe what Jason's done now or the rest of the team.
yeah.
Thank you for answering. Amna actually had a question. So, Jason, what are the ownership rights for the characters produced by AI tools?
I mean, that's kind of an industry question, isn't it? I mean, I feel like everyone is kind of in the same boat where it's, like you do own what you create. And I know that there was some part in here too about like copywriting, certain aspects of the game and those sort of things, right? It's like I feel like, especially since we're training these on like our own pets, right? Like now if I gave it, copyrighted characters to work from, right? Like that's obviously like something that I wouldn't want to do, and I don't think is ethically right. But for us, we are creating something new, and I'm giving it prompt engineering is a big part of it, like we mentioned too, of like, hey, I want it to be this specific character with a purple bow tie and this whole thing. So you really are creating a character, right? But you're just using this tool to put a bunch of things together.
Yeah, and I think following that, it's just like we are trying to make like our own IPs here. Like we're not trying to lift from things. Like we're trying to make our own unique experiences that are very much our own.
Sounds great. I think we can open the floor for any like additional questions that anyone else has.
I can add a question
Great, Oren.
Oh,
um,
Oren.
To you.
for Jason. Well, with the massive cost savings, I can only assume that frees up a lot of resources for just being, I want to assume, being more creative, having more of a control over how creative you can be. So I'm just curious to hear, with all the cost savings you have using Gen AI for like marketing and character design, what resources has that freed up? If you're able to talk about that.
I mean, right now, honestly, our biggest resource is time, just especially being a small group and whatnot. And like we mentioned earlier, like the time savings is just kind of immeasurable at this point. And also too, kind of the headache at like being so early launching our game. Like Matt said, just kind of him and I have had so much experience kind of just getting teams on board and narrowing in a style. And that's always going to happen. But I think with us, our goal after GDC was we want to get a game out in just a few months, right? We're independent now. We used to be, I had an earlier slide, but we used to be part of a larger game studio. We decided to go fully independent this year. And I was like, we need to launch something. We just need to get something out there, right? And let's go as crazy and bold and aggressive as we can. And this is just, some of the methods that we've been using to achieve that. And and our goal is to also be a studio. What does a game studio look like in 2025? use all the tools you have, right? If we were a game studio in 2019, honestly, I have no idea what we would have done. I think we would have had to have made like I don't know, a word game or something that like literally has like no art. I don't know, right? But actually, to maybe answer your question a little bit with the creativity, it opens up our potential because we're able to do this sort of a thing. I think we wouldn't have even dared to approach this. We would have made very different decisions because when starting this game, I knew how to, like, I knew what we could do with the tools we have. I felt confident in a lot of explorations. I don't have it in here, but when Matt and I started Team Tiger in like 2022, that was like, when first Dolly came out, and him and I would always kind of use those like just for toys, right? It's like, hey, and it would come back with, it would just be silly. It's like a novelty. But I kept following it as it kept growing. It's like, wait, no, this is actually helpful now. And so embarking on like this game, I'm like, I feel very confident now that I think we can do this. But to answer your question, it's like, yeah, even just a few years ago, I wouldn't have dared because I don't think it would have been so expensive. It would have been a headache, but it's just a small team. Yeah.
That's amazing to hear, just from a creative standpoint, something like this, you guys maybe wouldn't have done.
Definitely not.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's very encouraging for us, and I don't know. We'll see what else happens. Yeah. Keep trucking.
Perfect. So I guess we can call it a wrap. I must say one thing, these 10 minutes passed so quickly, and then these 30 minutes passed even faster. So Jason, it was a really insightful
Let's get a heart for Jason. Everyone can do their style of heart. And thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate this.
Cool.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
everyone.